The Kaiser City Council is now back in session. We are going to go to item 8C, which is to consider the proclamation request from CASA of Marion County recognizing Foster Care Awareness Month. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. City Recorder Bissett has this item.
Ms. Bissett?
Mayor and City Council, on Monday, January 27th, we received a request for proclamation from Vanessa Nordike, the Executive Director of CASA of Marion County. She's looking to recognize Foster Care Awareness Month in May of 2025. She's asked if she could come and present and have the proclamation read at a meeting in April or May. And with the new council rules of procedure, it's time now to look at this. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions on the request for the proclamation on Foster Care Awareness Month? Council President Starr?
Ms. Bissett, have we gotten anything on Child Abuse Prevention Month, which is in April? Have you gotten a request for that yet, or is it on the approved list? Sorry.
It is
NyQuil brain.
It is not on the approved list. I have not seen the request come in yet.
Okay, I'd just like to make sure we keep that in mind.
It's an annual, and so yes, it's one that we do annually.
Yes.
So yes, it's one that heretofore I have issued annually. Yes.
And that's in April.
Correct. And generally we invite,
Liberty House and Family Development.
right, like we have in the past. So that would be one that would be issued, and I believe it was on the list that you included here in the packet, if I remember correctly.
Yes, we were looking at April 1 for that.
Right, yes. So right here to your question, timing, one proclamation is scheduled for April 1, City Council meeting, Child Abuse Prevention Month. So that would be a yes, and then there are openings for one on April 21st. We do have 3 scheduled for May 6th, so we're gonna have to spread that out between May 6th and May 19th. With that, any further questions? Okay, Council President Starr, would you be willing to put a motion on the table?
I move to approve the proclamation request from CASA of Marion County recognizing Foster Care Awareness Month at the City Council meeting to be determined.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council approve, oops, there we go. The proclamation request from CASA of Marion County recognizing Foster Care Awareness Month at a meeting to be determined. What I would like to do is slate that for April 21st, because we already have on April 1st and already May 6th, and this would be getting in preparation for the May events. So I would request that we insert the date April 21st. Does the mover accept?
Accepted.
Does the second accept?
Yes.
Thank you very much. The motion stands amended. Anything further? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Ms. Bissell, I'll work with you on the language. Thank you. That takes us to item 8D, which is resolution claiming an exception under the Kaiser Parks Matching Grant Program for Gold Star Memorial Monument. Mr. Brown, City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Public Works Director Bill Lawyer will take this one.
Mr. Lawyer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. The Kaiser Gold Star Families Memorial Monument Committee has received approval and support from the City Council to place a Gold Star Memorial in Ryan J. Hill Memorial Park. The committee has raised to date about $10,000 in funds for the project. The committee's goal is to have the memorial completed by September 28th, 2025, which is the Gold Star Mothers and Family Memorial Day. Works has begun preparing the site for the memorial to be installed. Fundraising efforts continue by the committee to reach their goal. The Kaiser Parks and Recreation Advisory Board approved a motion to approve the $10,000 for the matching grant and request council's exception to the policy to pay in advance of completion of the project. The Parks Board's grant program is a reimbursement program, and so they're asking council for an exception to that program to allow for this funding to be released to meet the goal of having the order placed in April so they can meet their September 28th completion goal. Funds are available in the 24-25 City Council adopted Park Services Fund, specifically the grant program line item. Approval of this policy exception will allow the monument to be ordered in time to meet the goal of completion in September, as I mentioned. City Council approval is needed to allow this policy exception. Staff recommends council adopt the attached resolution approving a policy exception to the Parks Grant Program to allow funds to be provided for the Gold Star Memorial Project. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mr. Lawyer? I do have one, and that's on the overall budget. I had a conversation with Mr. Brown earlier today. So the original, estimate for the overall, project budget is about $150,000. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So the monument itself is about 60,000 of the total of 150. And then there are other elements that, will need to be purchased in this, to complete the site. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
Okay. So additional fundraising will be done for those elements as well as the monument itself? Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else? Council President Starr, would you be willing to put a motion on the table?
Absolutely. I move the Kaiser City Council adopt resolution R2025 claiming an exception under the Kaiser Parks Matching Grant Program for the Gold Star Memorial Monument.
Happily second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt resolution R 2025, claiming an exception under the Kaiser Parks Matching Grant Program for the Gold Star Memorial Monument. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. You have no objection. Motion passes unanimously. That takes us to item 8E, which is resolution authorizing planning director to sign intergovernmental agreement for City of Kaiser Transportation System Plan Community Engagement. City Manager,
Madam Mayor and Council, Planning Director Shane Witham has this item.
Mr. Witham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. So before you, here is an IGA, an intergovernmental agreement. As y'all know, Transportation System Plan update has been a long it's been on that board for a few years as a goal. And this project is a little bit in that same CFEC basket, the Climate Friendly and Equitable Communities basket of legislation that's kind of been working its way through. And I've cried about all the different projects that I'm trying to juggle and keep my head straight on. But we've talked a bit about the process we've been going through, and that one of the silver linings of all of this work is that the state has kind of changed how they're prioritizing and funding transportation system plans. So ODOT, the Oregon Department of Transportation, is doing a lot of the technical work and will be funding the engineering side of our transportation system plan update. And I actually haven't told anybody this. I just got an email Friday that the mini RFP that ODOT is getting out just got posted. So it's like happening, like hopefully it's happening when we get through a process and end up with a contract and figure out how all of that works. But when ODOT looked at a community like Kaiser and what the overall project costs were gonna look like for our TSP update, because it's a really big project, it takes a long time, they were a little concerned about overall budget. So the Department of Land Conservation and Development came alongside and said, hey, we have some additional money that we think might be helpful to set up your kind of engagement plan and this little piece that's called a major equity analysis. That's a new requirement that came out of CFEC that's in OAR 660. So this IGA is specifically for us, the city, to be able to work with DLCD and receive consultant support in coming up with an overall engagement plan for the TSP project, as well as doing this major equity analysis memo that's required by OAR 660. So that's what this is for, which as I said, this is like it's the TSP's kind of becoming a reality. We're gonna get to update it, so that's good news. So with that, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you very much. I have a question, and I'll open it to council. So this is also all part and parcel with the update we're doing concurrently with the Climate Friendly Equitable Communities, affectionately known as CFEC. It's also, will this also meet our Goal 1 requirements of public involvement? in general, or will that be additional work with the TSP?
Yeah, so the consultant work that we're getting, it is to develop an overall community engagement plan for the whole project of updating our TSP, but also looking through an equity lens as required by OAR 660 and the Climate Friendly and Equitable Communities rules. So, so it's a yes and. So it's not doing the work of having all the meetings and the open houses and how that's going to happen in the midst of the TSP. This is coming with that plan that will kind of give that framework for how we do it, if that makes sense.
It does, it's your framework for actually doing that work when we get into it. Okay, no, that makes sense. Any questions from council? All right, Council President Starr, would you please put a motion on the table?
I move the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R2025, authorizing the planning director to sign an intergovernmental agreement for the City of Kaiser Transportation System Plan Community Engagement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2025, authorizing planning director to sign intergovernmental agreement for City of Kaiser Transportation System Plan Community Engagement. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Item 8F, which is a resolution dissolving the Personnel Policy Committee, repealing resolutions R 2009-1994 and R 2023-3421. City Manager?
Madam Mayor and Council, Human Resource Director Garrett Cleaver will address this item.
Thank you, Mr. Cleaver.
Mayor, City Council, the resolution before you resulted from your January 21st, 2025 council meeting in which you discussed sunsetting the Personnel Policy Committee, which is composed of entirely of council members, and ultimately deciding by consensus to sunset the committee. From a timing perspective, there is one item that the Personnel Policy Committee would have reviewed, and that is the revisions to the Personnel Policy Manual, the city's Personnel Policy Manual, that the committee would have put eyes on, but ultimately the council would always have to approve those specific policies as a whole. And with that, staff recommends the Kaiser City Council adopt the resolution.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report or the resolution before us? Council President Starr?
I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R2025, dissolving the Personnel Policy Committee.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2025, dissolving the Personnel Policy Committee. Any discussion? So I want to thank everybody who has worked on this over the years. It has had various iterations in which it's really done some significant work, and concurrent with our policies and practices, when the work is completed, we dissolve the committee. So there we go. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Item 8G is a resolution amending the Kaiser Public Arts Commission, KPAC, amending Resolution R 2015-2552, repeal of Resolution R 2020-3059. City Manager?
Madam Mayor and Council, this is an item that the City Council asked the City Attorney to bring back for discussion.
Thank you. Mr. Lindsay?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This is a situation where the council asked this to return in front of them for February 3rd. This was coming out of December 2024 conversations where City Council was asking staff to look at committees and try to make them more consistent by removing council voting positions where it wasn't required by statute. And so the idea was to have liaisons that don't overly influence the committees. So that was the ask. This was identified as one such committee that has a voting member. It was established in 2014 and then renamed in 2015. And at that time, membership consisted of 7 voting members, and one of those was a Kaiser City councilor. So really what would have to happen here is once this resolution, if you pass it, goes into effect, the council member becomes a non-voting member, so then they would have 6 voting members, they would have to then appoint another voting member if they wanted to keep 7 voting members.
Right, and that would go through the volunteer coordinating committee process.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions? Sorry. No, you got me doing it. Okay.
I have a comment, but not a question. Do you want that now?
If it's deliberation, it'll be after we put the motion on the table. If it's not, then why don't we do it part of the deliberation?
Well, I don't know.
Okay,
So, what I would ask is, every 2 years, we go through and determine, we go through and look at all of the committees and make any changes we feel should be made. So what I would ask is, can this resolution be put, our next work session, which is next Monday, is doing exactly that. It's going to be short-term goals, long-term goal planning, and review of the committees. So while I don't know if there's going to be any additional changes to the KPAC resolution, I would hate to pass a resolution and then pass it again. So what I'm asking is, could this resolution be postponed until the second city council meeting on whatever day that is?
It's February 10?
Thank you.
February 10th? No, February 10th is the work session, February 18th.
18.
Oh, I apologize, I misheard.
Yes.
That's, so,
It is a possibility if that is the decision of the council at this point. We do have the resolution ready to go to make this change, which is something that has been requested and is a change in that, very specific to how we are doing our city council, committees.
Liaison.
So, I mean, it's up to the council if you want to pass it tonight or not. And we can put a motion on the table to debate it and either vote it up or down, depending on your preference. Counselor Christopher.
I'd put a motion on the table that tables it until the next city council meeting on the 18th. There, and see if there's a second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council table this, this agenda item for the next council meeting on February 18th, 2025. Discussion. Personally, I'd rather just get this part done tonight, so, because we know we want to get it done, we've been asking for it to get done. If we need to revisit something else in the Appendix A, we'll have that conversation, but this is something that we can get out of the way. And, like our other committees and commissions, make sure they're current with the processes that we would like to have in place. So I will not be supporting putting this off, I'd just like to get her done. Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a clarifying question. Is this going to change addendum A?
Yes. That's where,
So then if we change anything next Monday, we'd have to come back and change it again.
right. Is there anything that, in looking at that, and Councilor Christopher, you, I don't mean to bypass you, Council President Starr, but in that committee, are there things that you are anticipating bringing forward for that conversation?
No, Mayor, I'm not, but I don't know what a committee review consists of, so I don't know what to anticipate. That's why I said, if we can put it off 2 weeks, and if not, that's fine too.
So just in general, a committee review is looking at, is a committee still relevant, current, and is the description of the activities of that committee still reflect what we need done or what they are doing? That's generally what we go over in my recollection. So, any further discussion?
Can we restate the motion? Sorry.
Ms. Bissett, can you restate the motion, please?
Counselor Christopher moved to table the item until the next city council meeting on February 18th, 2025.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. No. Motion passes with the noes are Clark and Parsons. Okay, this will be tabled to February 18th. Okay, item 8H, discussion item, potential postponement of the Community Diversity Engagement Committee, CDEC meetings. And this was brought by Counselor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've probably attended more Community Diversity Engagement Committee meetings than most of the members of the committee over the life of the committee. Usually I don't stay for the whole thing, but I'm usually there. And one of the questions that somebody asked me the other day, what have been the accomplishments of the committee since we put it together in, was it 2021 or something like that? And what have the accomplishments been? And I really couldn't put them down on paper. And then another person said, well, what was the purpose of this committee to begin with? The purpose of the committee was to help bring everyone together in the community. For example, my neighborhood, I have a diverse neighborhood, and we all get along, we all accomplish all kinds of things, and we work together. I don't see that really happening in this committee right now. And so I just think we need to have a discussion on what the goals are, what they're really doing, and does that match what the committee was put together for? And then the second is we need to take a look and see, because it looks like right now it's turned into a DEI committee, which would be in violation of some of the executive orders that have recently happened, and we could lose funding. So I just think we need to discuss that, evaluate where it is and where we need to go in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. I want to follow up on a comment made about, because this is the second reference to, federal actions regarding DEI. The existence of a Community Diversity Engagement Committee, is there anticipation that this is that would put any of our federal funding that we receive, and I don't think is much, at risk?
I think
Sorry.
that's, Madam Mayor and Council, I think that's too early to say whether that would or not. I mean, they're having a meeting at the COG this week to discuss that. And I know we've received circulars from the League of Oregon Cities that would talk about that. I haven't heard anything that we would directly be impacted by, but I think it's too early to try to predict that.
Thank you. Councilor Cross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I actually reached out to Mr. Lindsay this week on that, and the information I got from him is, and he can elaborate, is the initial executive orders directly impact federal agencies and another is aimed at private section DEI activities. Within these, the federal government is also going to start to look at federal grantees that spent federal monies on DEI activities or programs. Because of the new administration's view that DEI programs activities could violate civil rights and might eventually have federal grantee impacts, it would be advisable to distance from that DEI committee. So the CDEC is slated to meet on Thursday, February 6th. It's going to be revised and reevaluated in February. If task, scope, or mission are potentially going to change for the committee, it seems more efficient to cancel the meeting on the 6th. Joe, would you like to elaborate?
My answer to that was, of the existing executive orders that came down, which I guess another huge question mark is whether or not additional executive orders, because some get put in place and then they get rescinded or they get challenged and then they get put on hold. Of the two that still remain, one affected just specifically federal agencies and the other one only private institutions. But then within the federal agency one, there was some direction that they were starting to also do research into all levels of government that might be receiving grantees, federal grantees. So anybody who's granted money from the federal government as a way of sort of starting to figure out who has DEI programs. So Mr. Brown is exactly right in that there's so many more questions than answers. And so I was trying to answer your question about what currently exists, but we could have many more executive orders tomorrow. Not that, to the mayor's point, from other meetings, is why totally speculate about what isn't and go with what is, so I understand that side of things too. But the notion is that right now, there is a potential push to try to stray away from, I don't think necessarily the mission, but the nomenclature, which is the DEI itself versus actual inclusion or actually trying to go for diversity or actually trying to, have equitable outcomes. I mean, you guys just saw a state grant right now for CFAC, which has equity involved. So I don't think, in and of itself, the mission, I don't think, as it exists, is a danger to as much to the federal funding as when it gets ascribed DEI. That would be my guess.
Okay, thank you.
But that's still some speculation.
Okay, thank you. And follow up. So I've just seen, as being the board president of the Y, Marion, and Polk counties, that we're going away from that and we're using words like inclusivity and belonging. So just switching those words there would put, in my understanding, would put us in a more neutral place. Is that correct?
That would be my, I guess, advice based on some speculation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So I've got a question, I'll come, and actually, thank you, Councilor Kohler, but I will hold my question. I'm gonna see if there's anybody, to my left that would like to ask a question. Council President Starr?
I have a lot of thoughts.
Microphone, please.
Oh, sorry. So what is the request that we are just giving? I think, Mr. Lindsay, are you just asking maybe for some time to evaluate what you're seeing come across to help give us direction go forward?
I would, in that particular instance, I was just answering a question about the executive orders.
Right, but do you need, are you saying you need time to evaluate those to understand what the level of impact could be?
Well, yes, understanding those would also mean, and sometimes this takes longer than we would even, any of us would like, which is seeing if courts challenge them, seeing if all sorts of groups come out and sue. So the evaluation is probably going to take a long, long time. But what I would think is a stronger position is to change some of the words. I know that sounds silly maybe to some, and not necessarily change the mission. But really kind of reevaluate how we're naming it so that we safeguard a little bit.
I get that. We had a scare just in my personal work life, right, with some of the orders that came out. So I get it.
Councilor Christopher, do you have anything?
I have no desire to indefinitely pause CDEC. However, I hear what you're saying, and again, we have a work session next Monday where we're going to do committee review, and that could include changing titles, nomenclature, if you think that that would be helpful to allow that committee to continue to do the work that they're doing with a different name. I would ask that if we are going to postpone it, let's postpone it until, and the same with the resolution that's on here. I would ask the same thing that I asked of KPAC, and that is, let us get to the work session where we can make any changes that we think are needed to be made, and then come back the next city council meeting. That's what I would ask.
Councilor Duran? So I'm gonna go with Councilor Parsons, and I've got something I'll come back to Councilor Kohler.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. This, committee was formed after I got off city council. the last time, so I'm just still learning about what's going on in the mission. I understand that there was a work session that was canceled recently. I really think that that is an important thing that needs to be done, because I think it's separate from the committee things, because I think there's much more involved here. So I really think that we should keep it going, have a work session, figure it out. If we have to change names, change words, whatever, and do it that way. I mean, I don't think we should pause it. I mean, this is a separate, whole big thing, bigger than the arts pack and all that stuff. So that's my 2 cents.
I'll come back to you, Councilor Kohler. Thank you, Councilor Parsons. That's where I was going. I think we need to do this in collaboration with and talk with and listen to the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. We've had work sessions with that committee before, and I think that tasking the committee to continue their work and add to their agenda for this week to look at what their recommendations are, so we have even more information going into possibly our work session. But I would really discourage us from stopping their work, and I would also discourage us from making decisions outside of a joint work session with the Community Diversity Engagement Committee as it stands right now. I think that if we try to have that conversation just as a council in a work session, without including the entire committee and doing it jointly like we did last year, I think we heard loud and clear tonight from members of our community and members of the committee that this needs to continue. Our work needs to continue. They are already working on definitions. They've already been, to Councilor Kohler's question, we had the Community Diversity Engagement Committee look at our neighborhood association structure. We have them go and review, and they are now visiting neighborhood associations on a regular basis for the engagement part of their mission. They also did a thorough review of the neighborhood traffic management program, a program that was brought up from the last century into this century, this decade, in a huge leap, and their input was valuable in assessing that with the lens from the CDEC. Those are just 2 examples of where we've been able to engage with more voices at the table. And I would really strongly urge us to not pause this committee. I believe it is too early to change anything, and then ask the committee itself to help us make recommendations and then get that work session on our schedule as soon as possible. So that's where I really think we would need to go to listen to the people we've heard from tonight. Councilor Kohler.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. It's interesting, when this committee was first put together, Mr. Day Councilor Day was real adamant that we need to be careful of what the purpose of the committee was. The purpose of the committee was to engage the community and help bring everybody in together. Like in my neighborhood at home, where we have diverse community, we all get together, we work together, we accomplish a lot of good things. That was the purpose of this committee, and he said specifically, we don't need a DEI committee, we need a community that will help bring our community together. I think the reason that we need to pause this to take a look at what's going on, I think that it's been turned into a DEI committee, and I think we're losing the purpose of what's going on in our community. When I go out and I talk to people and ask them, what do you want in our community? Well, we'd like this, we'd like that. I'm not seeing that committee accomplish those things. So that's why I think we need to reevaluate where they are, what they're doing, and where we need to go forward.
Can I ask a clarifying question? How is the Community Diversity Engagement Committee a, quote, DEI committee? Can you help me understand that?
We'll look at the mission that's there and what they just put out as their definitions for DEI. That's where I get that.
I'm so confused. Diversity engagement, we have a statement of values that we as the city council passed for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And that is the guiding document behind then the outreach that we are looking for through the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. So I still don't understand what a DEI committee is versus what we are doing here with, our community diversity engagement. I'm confused.
Where do I start? So when justice is based on what color you are versus let's go out and work together and do things, that's when I think that if justice is the whole big thing, that's a DEI committee rather than, when somebody comes in and says, there's not enough people on the council that look like me, therefore we should change this. If somebody wants to be on the council and they want to be involved in things, they want to be in committees, and they want to work on our council and be on our council and be elected, great, I have no problem with that. I think that anybody that wants to be involved in our city government, whether it be committees or on the council or any other way, should be able to do that. I have no problem at all with that. But when we have to say, oh, we have to have this many people of this race or this or that and the other thing, then we're missing what we're looking for.
So, thank you. One more follow-up. Have any recommendations come out of the Community Diversity Engagement Committee that would put together a quotas, which is what I heard you say. Have there been any quota type of recommendations?
I haven't heard that from the committee, but I heard it from different members.
My question was, has the committee made recommendations regarding quotas of any type?
I haven't heard an official statement from the committee about a lot of things, but that's not one that I have heard.
Thank you. So at this point, is there a desire to put a motion on the table or to put this off and have a joint work session with the Community Diversity Engagement Committee? Thoughts?
I didn't understand.
Does somebody want to put a motion on the table or regarding whether or not the committee should meet, or we'd like to direct that we schedule a work session with the committee as soon as possible?
Yep, I'll make a motion that we schedule a work session with the committee as soon as possible to put it all together for us.
Looking for a second.
Second.
Microphone.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councilor Parsons, seconded by Councilor Christopher to schedule a work session with the Community Diversity Engagement Committee as soon as possible.
Great.
Any further discussion? Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess this is for you, Councilor Parsons. So was that motion just, do we have a date for the work session? Or it's just when the work session is, like January 2026?
No.
Okay, what's the date for the work session? Can we
Council,
put things around? I mean, if we want to get this stuff done and we want diversity committee, or CDEC, diversity engagement committee to feel heard, then let's get it done and push stuff out. Let's get it done. If they're not feeling like we're doing stuff, let's get it pushed through.
thank you, and I would agree, that's why in the motion is said as soon as possible.
But so can we get it on the date? I
Well,
mean, as
once-
soon as possible, it's a lot of things, Mayor.
I understand that. Once we have voted on this, we can work with our city recorder to find open dates, and we can get that done, but it's not, I think as soon as possible is something that we can work on once we take action on this motion. Councilor Christopher.
I'm just asking, could we postpone the goal-setting work session and do the CDEC work session with CDEC next Monday? Because I believe there is a sense of urgency. I believe we should, and I know it's important to set goals as well. I'm just asking.
What I would do is I would ask that we work with our city recorder to find a mutually agreeable date because it's not just the 7 of us, it's also the committee as well, and we're going to have to work with them on that to get that scheduled. So as soon as possible is that possible part. So I
So is
appreciate
it-
that.
Is it possible, if that date worked, that we could do that? I guess that's what I'm asking, Mayor.
That would be an option, if the council wishes that to be an option for consideration in putting that out to the committee, then that can be an option.
Okay.
I'm going to go to Council President Starr, and I'll come back to Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You know, when we were back in, I think it was December, when the council rules were on the agenda, you made a really good point about pausing the work until Councilor Parsons was at the table. So I think my question that just occurred to me as I'm listening to this, and we've heard from some of our current committee members, where are we at in, and maybe this isn't the right venue, but where are we at in getting a full full committee member appointments? So.
We just moved that down the agenda.
Gotcha. Okay, so I just want to make sure, like, when we're having the conversation about setting this work session, that we're not, we don't lose that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And we have 2 minutes, sorry.
Any further discussion? Councilor Cross?
So follow-up, I just want to be on the record that hopefully we can push this out, and I'm in support of changing our work session and making it a CDEC work session. And I'm looking at you,
I
Carrie.
agree.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and again, we're going to have to coordinate with the members as well. So there are 14 schedules to look at.
Got it.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by, I'm sorry, question?
Yeah,
I don't know what we're voting on.
No. Ms. Bissett, would you please restate the motion on the floor?
Yes, Counselor Parsons moved to schedule a work session with the CDEC as soon as possible.
Okay,
That is the motion on the table.
thank you.
Anything further? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Let's go to item, we are at 9 o'clock. We now need to decide if we are going to finish the agenda or if we're going to push these out to February 3rd. So we have
No.
finished item 8.
February 18th.
18th, yes, today is February 3rd. Okay. And with that, so remaining on the agenda are items I, 5A, J, and then the council consent calendar, and then agenda input. So we would need a motion to either push these out to February 18th or to conclude the agenda.
I move these items to February 18th.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move the remaining items to February 18th. I would like to point out that the appointment of the Community Diversity Engagement Committee members would then be pushed off to February 18th. Because that is
Sorry.
5A is after I and,
This is what
so,
happens when the Dayquil wears off, I'm sorry.
so if we could, I know it's been moved and seconded, may I ask for an amendment to give us another 15 minutes to proceed with the agenda? If the mover would accept that change.
Yes.
Would the second accept the change?
That would be wonderful.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council continue the work for an additional 15 minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. 15 more minutes it is. Let's go to item 8H, I'm sorry, 8I, which is a resolution amending the Community Diversity Engagement Committee, amending Resolution R 2021-3225. City Manager?
I'm trying to, I think this is the one that we just moved on.
This is just a point of clarification. This is the one regarding changing the composition of the committee. And there are two sections of this. One is to change the council positions from 2 voting to 1 non-voting. And the other consideration is to change the appointment process from as it is now, through an appointment to a term, to making it an appointment of council with the 2-year cycle.
Okay.
And that's what I understand is in this committee, in this agenda item. Do I have that correct?
I thought we had, or the council had, determined and with previous item H that they would not change the meeting of the CDC.
That is correct.
And then item I had to deal with the terms of it. And then I think the one that's important for Councilor Parsons was to actually declare appointments from council members to it.
I understand.
Is that-
The current order of the agenda is to go to 8I, and then 5A will come after that. Because we need to conclude the work of section 8I first in the order of the agenda. So this one is to look at the resolution R 2021-3225. And this was brought forward again under other business. I asked that we look at changing the 2 voting counselors to 1 non-voting liaison. And then Councilor Christopher asked that we include changing the appointment process from what we have now, where an appointment is made for a term, where it then would be concurrent with council positions. And that rule got changed in our rules of procedure at the last meeting.
So, Madam Mayor and Council, the city attorney prepared the staff report for this item, but I would also maybe suggest, that, as you did with the previous committee, to wait till it was discussed amongst the committees. But that's the council's pleasure, and Mr. Lindsay has the staff report.
Okay. I might have kind of done it.
What? Oh, you absolutely did. I mean, this was just an item that the council asked in, again, sort of the similar vein of trying to bring out consistency in the committees. Is this committee, the council thought, and gave me direction to treat more like the VCC in terms of the way the structure is of the appointment process, and remove the 2 voting members and have council liaison only. And then the terms would coincide with terms of councilors, so that it would be a better marriage of when people get replaced or reappointed, because it isn't all just replacement, so.
Okay. Questions, Council? I'm going to go to Council President Starr, and then I'll go to Councilor Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to clarify that we just voted to not do the resolution for the Arts Commission until after we do the committee review, correct? I'm trying to stay with us here. So why would we not do the same thing here and review before we make a change?
It's up to council at this point if
I'm
we
just
want
making
to
sure I'm
proceed.
tracking.
Right, and to your point, this was brought forward as per council request. And given the prior action on 8H, Mr. Brown makes a good point that this could be part of the work session with the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. And I think I just mind melded with Councilor Parsons.
You did. That's what I was going to say.
All right, so what she said.
Can I make that?
Would you like to make that motion?
Oh, I don't know. I'll give it my very best shot, and feel free to friendly amend anything that I move that we table item 8I until after we do the committee review, which is now pending on when we do the work session with the CDC committee.
Backwards.
Right?
No.
Oh my God, this is why I just need
May I
more
make
equal.
Sorry. May I make a suggestion?
Yes, please, thank you.
That I would look for a motion to table this pending the joint work session with the Community Diversity Engagement Committee.
That's perfect.
That's it.
So
Thank you.
is that what you'd like to move?
Yes, that's what I want to move. Thank you.
Okay,
Madam
and who
Chair.
would like to second that?
I'll second it.
And Council Parsons will second. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. No objection. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, 5A, which is the appointments. So, the current rules of procedure are that the counselors make appointments in the 2-year rather than the current process where you have people already appointed and in midterm. They're either 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years in, or in my case, I still don't have a youth member. But the rules don't really give leeway for that, as I understand it, that it is something that we need to make those appointments. Am I interpreting that correctly? Mr. Lindsay, I'm looking for a little guidance here.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that really fast?
Really fast? Okay, I will shorten that up. What do the rules tell us we need to do now regarding the appointments for the Community Diversity Engagement Committee?
Okay, so your most recent rules that you just passed are for a 2-year term. But the process is still the same because the process under the resolution that controls the CDEC itself has the same as it always had, which is the same membership and the same terms of that membership and the same appointment process.
So for point of clarification, that the phrase "for council member appointments via council, these rules supersede any individual resolutions relating to specific committees." That's a rather broad statement. What does that mean in this context?
Well, I thought it meant at the time that that was simply for all of the resolutions when they talked about the mayor being the appointee of the council position, that it was going to, the rules were going to supersede all of those resolutions, so we didn't have to change every single resolution as to the maneuver of making the council the person who, or the entity that appoints to counselors to council liaison positions. That was my understanding, but I could be wrong because what's in your guys' heads is more important than what's in my head in terms of how you legislate.
I'm just trying to figure out what, based on what it says, what got adopted
Yeah.
is what it says.
Okay.
So intentionality is nice, but I'm reading the rules as they were adopted. This is the language that got put in and it got approved. I'm trying to understand what we are supposed to do here at this point based on the rules that were passed. I do not have the answer.
I believe that my memory of the work session where this got brought up on the 18th was that the language was trying to get to making sure that all of the resolutions, as they stated that the mayor was going to appoint the liaison, that language was being superseded by that particular move, but not the appointees of the council members and things like that from on VCC or on CDEC.
So the resolutions governing those two committees are not impacted by the shall be superseded?
That's my understanding.
Okay. That's not how I read it, but I will go with the direction of the group. So at this point then, let me go, Councilor Kohler,
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
thank you, and thank you.
Just a quick clarification. So if we pass this tonight, then we would need to declare our members just like we do on the VCC tonight?
We pass what? We just tabled the resolution to a work session. So what we're working under right now is we're working under two things. We're working under the rules of procedure and the resolution establishing the CDEC. In my brain, they are in conflict. So it's up to you guys what you want to do with it, because what I read is that the rules of procedure supersede the CDEC committee. That is up to you guys to interpret it that way or not. I just don't understand. Counselor Kohler, follow up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My understanding is that what we were trying to do was have the CDEC committee members appointed just the way we have the VCC members appointed, so that at the beginning of every 2 years, we would restate who our person is, whether it's the same or a new person. And that was my understanding is what we were trying to do. Is that not correct?
That's what I read in the council rules of procedure.
So then follow up on that then. So if we pass this diversity engagement committee appointments, and we would need to restate who our members are.
That,
What,
Can I just recommend,
Council President Starr?
I'm sorry. Can we do what we did with, and just table this conversation until after we do our committee review that we're supposed to do every 2 years, which I think is what we did with the resolution regarding the appointment for the Public Arts Commission? Yes? Okay, so I think number one, we've been meeting, I think Counselor Cross says nothing good happens after 9 o'clock. I think we already made the motion or moved the review or the resolution for the Arts Commission until after we do our committee review, and I think this needs to follow the same process. I agree with what Attorney Lindsay said, Mr. Lindsay said about what his understanding was. And so instead of trying to muddle through this, I think that we just do this as part of our committee review process. I think we need to do that. And just keep everything, instead of doing one off here, one off there, we need to do all of the committee reviews together that we were gonna do and move forward. Or pick it up after we do the reviews.
well, I understand that part with the reviews. The motion that we just passed was to have this conversation with the Community Diversity Engagement Committee itself for that recommendation. We'll be doing reviews, but the current rules are, do we have appointments to that committee, which is going back to 5A, to make sure that we have appointments filled.
And I heard from Mr. Lindsay that we do. And so I think we just have our work session, hear what they have to say, do our council review, and then do everything all together if we need to make any changes.
Does everybody have an appointee at this point?
I do.
I don't.
Okay,
That was my question.
I think I do.
We don't have, not everybody has an appointee, so that's the issue right here.
Because we didn't know what we were appointing.
Right. So we.
But I have one because her term is not up till the end of this year, so I
Right.
can't appoint, right?
I do,
Correct.
but, because I already reappointed her last month.
I am so confused.
That's what I'm saying, just try to.
So we don't have a full VC, or a CDEC committee to have a joint session with.
Right.
If we
Well-
don't make those appointments today.
so if we are, and this is, the rules of procedure and the actual resolution, they are different. And it was passed last week, or 2 weeks ago, but we do have people who are currently serving on the committee, and they are Benita Picasso, Tammy Kunz, Stephanie Cross, Caridad Brown, Jane Tichenall, those 5, plus Councilor Cross and myself. So we have 2 vacancies under the current structure. That was for Councilor Christopher and for myself. And under our current structure, if we're not looking at the council rules of procedure, but we're looking at the resolution, I'm supposed to appoint a youth member. If we're looking at the council rules of procedure, I just have to appoint somebody and not necessarily a youth. So I'm throwing it out there. The rules of procedure were adopted as they are, so what did you mean by them? I can't answer that because I voted no. Counselor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just going to point out, it's about 9:17 right now. So if somebody wants, I'm not going to vote to extend this meeting. I want to table it because we are getting, that last 15 minutes, we didn't get anything done, in my opinion.
We have two sick people, and I really don't want to get their disease.
Well, I don't either. I'm sitting between them. So, but the thing is, at this point, we still have 2 vacancies. Counselor Christopher, do you have anybody to recommend for the committee at this point?
I've talked with someone, but I didn't know what the term of, I was going to get past committee review so that I could tell them what that entailed. And so I have not confirmed it, but yes, I have talked with someone.
So you don't have anybody to
Not
recommend
tonight, Madam Mayor.
And I do not have any student letters at this point. So I've been, can you turn off your phone light, please? It's blinding. Thank you. Okay, that hurt. So yeah, I'm still waiting for letters from students so I can interview for that position as well, and that is still in progress. So if we're gonna go with the process that we are using right now is still the original and not the one in our council rules of procedure, I need you guys to agree that that's the direction we're going right now, because this is not in compliance with our rules of procedure. And that's why I'm stuck. Counselor Christopher.
I don't feel honest talking with my candidate till I know what it's going to be. And so, and I know the direction of council was to establish it. For example, when Councilor Parsons was elected, at some point, this committee is only 3 years old. Is that correct? So at that point, when you set it up to have each counselor put someone on that committee, they didn't run with the council terms.
Correct. On
Which
purpose.
has what made it so confusing. And for Councilor Parsons, when she was elected, she already had someone in that position, so she was not able to.
Correct.
Yeah, so I think those things need to be clarified first before we make those appointments. We have 5 individuals on there right now. Let's meet with those 5 individuals in the work session. They're the folks that have been there for 3 years. And is that right, Carrie, the longest? You've been 3 years? Yeah, so let's meet with those 5 individuals, have the work session, and determine where we're going, and then we can make our appointments. That's
Okay.
what I would do. I don't know how you get there, but that's what I would do.
Yep. Okay, so it's the consensus of council at this point to leave things as they are? And then abide by the rules of procedure at a later date?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to be clear. Well,
Nope, we're good.
it's, all right. Let's then look at, and I know we've only said 15 minutes, we do have a consent calendar, and there's a contract in there. There was a contract in the consent calendar. Would you be willing to go ahead with the consent calendar and get this done? Okay, anybody object to the consent calendar? Council President Starr.
The consent calendar reads item A, approval of January 6, 2025 regular session minutes. Item B, approval of the January 18th, 2025 work session minutes. And item C, resolution authorizing the finance director to enter into an agreement with Stone Security for Milestone Care Premium Support Services.
Thank you. I'm going to pull 9B, and we will bump that to the next council meeting. There are some corrections. Any other polls? Council President Starr?
I move that we approve the consent calendar items A and C.
Second.
Consent calendar items A and C have been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Just for the record, our next meetings will be Monday, February 10th, starting at 6 p.m. That will be our goal-setting work session, review of boards, committees, and commissions, and the proclamation list. Our next council meeting will be on February 18th at 6 p.m. That is a Tuesday because of the President's Day holiday. And then on Monday, February 24th, we'll meet at 6 p.m. with Long Range Planning Task Force. And Ms. Bissett will work with the council and the CDEC to schedule a work session as soon as possible. We will forego our member reports and staff updates for this evening, but I do want to double check there's no other business.
There's no other business, council.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Lindsay?
Thank you. So as part of this item J, I brought forward an item. I would like to make that a part of the record so that it's been at a public meeting so that I can make it part of a staff report for next time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any
That's all I have.
objection? Okay, the time is 9:23 and we are adjourned.